What is up, my fellow writing addicts? I'm Marissa.
And I'm Haley.
And today we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite books.
But not in order, because I have no idea how to put these in order.
I know my number 1 spot, but it's like 2 through 5 that it's like, ooh, tie? I don't know. I wouldn't be able to, like, that and, like, some I haven't read in forever.
I know, right?
So I'd have to reread and be like, oh yeah, that's why I stuck it there.
So you guys are about to learn a lot about us.
Yes. So Haley, why don't you go first?
Oh, okay. So, I'm kind of cheating on this one because it's kind of a tie. So I kind of have 6. But it's a tie between The Hunger Games and Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Because, I don't know, I like both books for completely different reasons. Like, I like to see the other tributes in Catching Fire. I like the arena better in Catching Fire as well. But with The Hunger Games, I really like I like the stuff before, like figuring, like going into the train for the first time and the training and all that, and the costumes and stuff. I like that a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time choosing, and Hunger Games has kind of a special place in my heart because it was like, okay, so it's like the first good book I read that really got me into reading. Technically, the first book that got me to start really reading was the Twilight novels.
Okay, same. Twilight got me in, and then I went to the Mark series, which, okay, if I had to pick which one is worse. Mark series.
Yeah, it's called the House of Night series.
There we go. Yeah. I thought the Mark series. But yeah, House of Night series, it's both vampires. I call the House of Night series worse than Twilight.
I agree.
Which is saying something. I mean, it's better than 50 Shades of Grey, but like, what isn't?
But like, I mean, Twilight may have got me to like start reading, but like Hunger Games kept me reading.
Yeah.
Because after I finished Twilight, I was like, what am I going to do next? And then I think, who was it? Was it someone suggested it to me? It was like either my mom or my stepmom. I can't remember. And they're like, oh, how about this book, Hunger Games? I heard it's really good. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then ever since, I've been like super into reading.
See, I got a lot of my recommendations from my friends. Twilight, my friends. House of Night is the only one I got into myself. Mm-hmm. But then I met her. And, well, years later, here we are.
Yep.
And I think it was either you or one other friend was like, oh, you gotta read Hunger Games. And then shortly after, oh, you have to read Cassandra Clare. And that kind of just brought me into more of the book world. Like, I couldn't escape it at that point. I was done. I was in.
Yep.
So, my all-time favorite, this is the one that I think has had the number 1 spot for the longest.
Oh, but do you want that to be the first one you talk about then?
Oh, it's true. I guess I'll save it for last.
Yeah, save it for last.
my favorite book of all time will be last, because I know most people don't have a favorite book. I do. So I'm going to talk about probably the one that barely made it on this list, and that's The Forbidden Game by L.J. Smith.
It barely made it on.
So I love The Forbidden Game. It's actually 3 books in one. It's more of an anthology. And I like her writing style. I like the world. It's just, I wish it had more teeth to it. Even when I first read it, I wish it went a bit darker. I know it can't. It's a young adult. I never wanted to go as dark as like an adult book. I know that. But there are certain moments where I wish it took things a little bit further. And I still go back to it. Like, I still reread it. It's definitely one of my favorites. I just think that it's definitely... out of this list, my least favorite, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I got it. I got you.
I've actually never seen a premise like it before. Essentially, it's like this evil djinn or shadow man. It's a very different names. Has essentially become obsessed with this young girl before obsession was the latest obsession in the literary world. I did that on purpose. And says like, okay, you're going to play this game if you get to the end, I'll let you go. But should you end, you have like, I think like 12 hours. She has a time limit. And if you don't get out in time, I get to keep you in this crazy world. And I've never really seen anyone take it like that. The world building is just so different and unique that, like, I've scoured. I can't find it. So that's why it's still one of my favorite books.
My next one is Clockwork Angel.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, really, that series, the Infernal Devices series, oh yeah, it's by Cassandra Clare, by the way. You probably have.
I'm like, it's right here. I was like, am I blocking it?
Yeah. That series is actually like my favorite series of all time.
Yeah.
But specifically Clockwork Angel, mainly because that's the one I remember the most, and that's the one that really got me into it. It's hard. I don't really have much of a reason why I really liked it. It's just I read it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the shit.
Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, I never remember the series which one comes first. I remember I liked the first one out of all of them because it did a really good job establishing the characters and the world, and it had such a different feel from
and I like
the other series.
And I like the mystery it kind of brings up.
Yeah. And the other books like do a great job of continuing it. It's a great solid series, but I think the first one does such a good job at like bringing you in and establishing everything that like it's at the forefront of your mind. I think that's why you like it a lot. We've discussed this before. Yeah. So my next one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It shouldn't be surprising that a classic is on my list. I do love classics, especially Victorian era. I read this in high school of my own volition and fell in love with it. It's a thick as fuck book. And I just loved the fact that it showed women, especially for me at the time, in such clarity, where it didn't have any of the drama of everything else. Like, don't get me wrong, the other books I've read are great, but it's kind of nice that Jane Eyre's world isn't ending in the book. There's no world to save. It's just her world, and it kind of talks about how, like, yeah, she's a woman, but she wants to go and explore things. She wants to do things that men can do, and I definitely felt that with, like, having 3 older brothers who could do so much more than I could based on, like, my parents' parenting style. And the way she coped with it, I felt, and the way she handled relationships was fantastic because she wants to be equal with her partner. That's the whole thing. And she doesn't get with her partner until they're equals, which I was like, I love it so much.
You would think that the way you talked about it, that was your, like, number one.
Number one, no. I don't even know if that's my number 2.
Okay, my next one. So these last 3, I'm like, nah, I don't know how to organize this. Okay, I'll just, whatever, I'll go in order. So, the next one is Warlock Holmes by G.S. Denning.
Our boy. He's hiding. You'll have to pull it out.
He's here.
Yeah, wait. Totally read all of it.
Oh yeah, totally. And, let's hold on for now. The reason I liked it is I always kind of like Sherlock Holmes-ish kind of stories. I like the Sherlock Holmes characters by itself. And then I find that it's like Sherlock Holmes, but it's fantasy, which is my favorite genre. And it's like really witty and funny. And I don't really read a lot of like humor. Like I read books with humor, but I don't read a book that I would classify as humor.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't read humor well.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, let's try this out. I like the premise. It's just Sherlock is a warlock, hence Warlock Holmes. And then John Watson is like the regular person, and he's the actual detective. But like the mysteries they never end the way you think they end.
No. They don't.
And it's kind of hilarious.
Honestly, what's funny is that the reason we got into Warlock Holmes is we met the author, and he has this deer stalker, and he had horns.
And we're like, what is that?
We literally stopped and we're like, sir, does that hat, that glorious motherfucking hat, go with anything? And he's like, oh yeah, my book. And then he told us, and we're like, and where do we buy it? And where will you be so you can sign it? Because, at least he lives here in Vegas, so if you're in town, if you go to the bookshelves, he used to like walk in and sign them. He's now in Seattle, so if you're there, check it out. I can't reach it. I had to pull another one out, but I'm not gonna. But yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy.
I love him. My next one is Perfect by Ellen Hopkins. This book holds a dear place in my heart because it's the first time I ever encountered a lesbian represented in a major literary work. And, I love Ellen, I can't speak her name today, Ellen Hopkins. I've read a lot of her work. I recently got out of it, but I could get back into it. I think
it's on this side.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pull it out. It's like literally behind it. Not only that, but
Stop dropping your phone.
I'm sorry. I even had the ability to meet her in person and have her sign a piece of paper because I didn't know she was going to be at a book festival that I was at. And so that's actually imperfect. But what I liked about it is that it showed lesbian relationships that I was kind of curious about. like as normal relationships. It wasn't taboo. It wasn't like a side character. It was a main character, front and center, and it was a person who was soon to be me figuring out that they're not straight. This character is a lesbian, but I myself are bisexual.
So my next one, if you listened to our podcast before it disappeared, because we can't afford to pay for it anymore.
Especially just to keep it up if it's for people to go back and listen to it, so
Yeah.
sorry.
I mentioned this as my number one, and after some thinking as I'm listening to Marissa, this one is I moved this down to a really close number 2.
Ooh, I'm wondering which one you go to.
Super close number 2. And this one is The Princess Bride by William Goldman. I know.
Oh my god.
I know. I know. Yes. So that was my number 1, but then I read this other book, and it's super close. Like, it keeps just changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but at this very moment right now, it's number 2.
Oh my god.
I know. And the reason why I put it as number 2, actually, is kind of because I forgot a little bit of it. I realized I've been mistaking the book and the movie, and it kind of got, like, mixed up in my head. So I think I need to reread it before I can reaffirm it back into number 1 status for me. But I do like how it's, like, witty and it's fun. I guess in a way this is also, like, a humor novel, but it's not. I wouldn't classify it as humor.
No, I wouldn't. But it has humorous elements, but it's not like pure comedy.
Yeah, but I think it's clever writing. I like the adventure. It's like a fun. I like the characters, and like it's all like a timeless thing. If like I count that as a classic to me.
By Me is a classic.
I don't really have any like real classics on my thing, because let's be real, a lot of classics are actually boring as fuck and not actually that good at least for our standards, like for people today. So it's okay if you don't like classics. I don't like most classics too.
If you want us to talk about classics, we can. We can rant and sometimes rave about certain classics.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friends and family know, you do not get me talking about Dracula.
Nope.
You do not. You will not walk away until 3 hours later. It's a thing.
You can talk to me a lot about classics. The conversation won't be that long because that involves me reading it.
Okay, we will discuss classics another day because they hurt me.
Yep.
So my next one is definitely not my number 2. I think if I had to pick one, it might be no, definitely not that one. I think my second favorite book ever is Jane Eyre. But this is one book I've rediscovered from my youth that I loved a lot. It is The Holo Kingdom by Claire B. Dunkel. And this is one of those books that, funny enough, I didn't want it to go darker. Because if it feels like it was right at the edge of like, no, you've satisfied my curiosity. But if you went darker, this would be an adult book, and I'm good. I'm good. So, kind of like how The Forbidden Game has a very unique premise, so does the Holo Kingdom. Essentially, these two sisters move in with their new caretaker at this really creepy kind of manor that they're going to inherit, but I don't know if they're old enough yet. But the oldest sister kind of catches the eye of the Goblin King, and he essentially kidnaps her. But he's not the villain, ironically. It's someone else, this like magician that's like taking magic and like killing off any magical creatures in this forest and like this city. It's very odd. I can't even describe it well without going like plunging deep into like spoilers, but I thought it was fantastically written. I thought the pacing was good. It has a lot of comedy. It's got some weird moments. I think one thing, someone is described as walking on the ceiling like a cockroach.
All right then.
Yeah, it's it goes places. It's definitely not a book that you like. You think stuff is gonna happen, and it doesn't. It definitely subverts your expectations, and it's definitely one of the most unique books I've seen in a long time. All right, we're back in time for Haley's number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah, literally for now, because you haven't read this book by the time we did it before, had you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
This is more recent.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a thing where when I see like a movie or TV show and I see that's based on a book, I usually try to read the book first and then watch the TV show movie, because then I'll never read the book the same.
Yeah.
And I also tend to just not go to the read the book after I've already just seen it. So when I saw that the show was coming out, I was like, well, crap. Gonna have to read it. So the book is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman.
Woo.
Yeah. The reason I like it a lot. All the characters are like distinct and enjoyable. Even like the bad guys. There's actually, in a weird way, there's like no bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really like the plot. It's all one day. It's like Armageddon.
Yeah.
And but it never really bores me. There are like some, as always, there's always those few characters that when they come up, it's like, oh, okay. But it's not as bad. Like,
Yeah.
I still find enjoyment in some of them. Like, I'm not too excited about Newt's perspective. I kind of like him and the Witchfinder. I'm kind of like, but they're still enjoyable because they're both like funny, stupid. That's kind of almost every character except for like Anathema. I'm gonna mispronounce the name.
I think you said it right.
Yeah. But like they're all funny, but they all have like a struggle that is kind of relatable, even like the angel and the demon. And I actually kind of like Crowley and Aziraphale. I kind of like them in the book slightly better than I do in the movie.
Yeah, if you guys...
Well, not movie.
Well, TV show. If you guys... I always recommend go read the book first, but if you're like, no, reading's not for me, I definitely recommend the TV show. It is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So... that's amazing. Just the fact that it's like, no, either the book and it's amazing, or a TV show that's amazing.
Also, yeah. Wow, so how often does that happen? And it also stays true to it's actually, we had a thing about our favorite adaptations and stuff. That's my favorite adaptation.
That's my favorite one.
Because it actually kept to the spirit of the book.
But it like changed enough.
It's I could go on. I could go on.
I won't let her, but we could.
Yeah.
So now it's time for my number one. So my number one book of all time has not changed over the years. I don't expect it to. I just feel bad because I do not remember the characters' names. I don't know. I always pronounce them wrong, and that's why. So I always feel bad. So my favorite book of all time is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And you know what? It's actually right. No, it's not. It's over there. What kills me is I never remember the characters, like the first character's name, because it's very unique.
Keep talking. Let's see if I can remember. Because
Okay.
it starts with a C, right?
It starts with a C. And I feel so bad. I just haven't reread it in so long. But what I like about it is that it's very down to earth. Essentially, you have your main character. She is not as beautiful, not as talented as her sister. And so her father, to kind of marry her off, says that, would you like to use my phone? Says that, like, to a man we only know as Mr., that if he takes his daughter as, as Mr.'s wife, her father will give him a cow. And so she's sold off to raise Mr.'s unruly kids. I can't spoil too much because it's a big spoiler, what I want to talk about later. But one thing I really enjoyed about it was actually the first book that I had read that, funny enough, that wasn't in the school curriculum. I get my hands on books that aren't in it, that actually showed a African-American person's point of view, and it wasn't assigned. I was very fortunate later that I could reread it later in school as part of an assignment, but it was like the first time where like it was front and center, because frankly, you don't see that enough. You really don't. That number is so low, I don't even know if it's in double digits right now, the percentage of books that actually have a African-American...
Celie, yeah.
Yeah, does it say her sister's name? I always forget her sister's name. I always feel bad. She disappears for like a good portion of the book, too. But what I also love about it is that Cecilia has like a shitty life. Nettie, there we go. And her only enjoyment is her sister, Nettie's the only light of her life. Everyone else is just a bad person. I'm not going to spoil any other character. But at the end of it, it's a very triumphing book. And I think I especially needed that when I was a teenager and I was struggling with my PTSD. And shortly thereafter, dissociating heavily. And I needed someone who was a champion, who went through hell and came back. and
Better than ever.
Better than ever, actually. Yeah,
she was bi, or is it lesbian? Actually, I can't tell.
I don't know with it. It's not very clear, but she and Mister are definitely in love with this woman named Shrug. I think I'm saying her name right.
I think so.
And based on what, she's never with a man. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
But she definitely is in love with women. I don't know if she's ever shown sexual interest into a man, but it's definitely another character that, isn't straight, and it's a lot of self-acceptance.
The musical is amazing.
Oh my god. So that's actually my first introduction. We were at Internationals. I saw the Color Purple musical. I was told it was a book. I went to the book. It was even better, but both are amazing. And the only thing I think I haven't seen yet is the movie, or I did and I forgot.
The movie's good.
The movie is good, yeah. I think I did see it. I don't know. I saw it all around the same time. But, I did see it. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's
an inspiring story.
It's very inspiring.
What are your guys' favorite books, of all time? Top 5, 10, 20, whatever you want to do. Tell us in the comments below, or you can tell us on Twitter at writing_addicts, or Facebook, facebook.com/writingaddicts.
And please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when our content comes out, and please hit that like button. And we will see you in the next video.
Bye!